Hello. How's it going? I am hopping in today to bring you some help, some support if you're looking to find a niche within your business, or oftentimes I feel like as you change, as you evolve, your relationship with your business changes. And then you're kind of needing to redefine your niche, maybe refine it a little bit. So I really want to bring this specific way of niching to you because I find so many people that are feeling really frustrated with the methods that are out there and finding that it feels really limiting to them. Most of the people that I've been working with related to niche are coaches and healers, and usually people that have a lot of different modalities. And a part of their evolution has usually been adding different modalities that they've felt like really intuitively drawn to, over the years. And I think that there's definitely different ways to look at this topic of niche, but a lot of people are feeling limited because you feel like you have to choose a specific lane, that the way that you're interpreting niche, you felt like, oh gosh, like I'd have to pick just one specific modality because otherwise, like I'm all over the place. But the approach that I bring for niching has coaches and healers in mind because I've seen the same challenges with my clients over and over again, and that's really what pushes me to like come up with these different methodologies or these different approaches or ways of explaining things. Is like I am always wanting to help solve your biggest challenges that help you get in front of more people, that help more people understand the value of what you do. And the reason that I love working with, like, of course, healers and coaches, other than the fact that it's like we need you out there, we need you now more than ever, we need you working with the world and the world understanding your value, is because there's the cutoff point is, this is the big challenge that I see with healers, is there's a inner transformation that's happening, and that they are often trying to sell the inner transformation without talking about the benefits in somebody's like actual life, like what is changing and shifting in their life. And the thing that healers and coaches and people that do a lot of like personal development type of service work understand is like how important things like alignment and purpose are. But the thing is that when you haven't like really started a personal development journey, or maybe it's somebody's first time working with a coach, because oftentimes like people might not even understand what coaching is. I see this all the time on Upwork. They don't really understand what it is that you do. And if you're using words like purpose and alignment, a lot of times it doesn't really land as being something that brings immediate benefit to their life. And so what I really want to shift and make easier for you is really communicating to people how the things that you're bringing, how they offer immediate benefits and long-term benefits as well in somebody's lives, in the lives of your clients. So if you have questions or if you run across this later, let me know. Let me know if there's confusion, or if there's like, this is my challenge and I'm here to help you, or at least point you in the right direction of what I think your next step would be. So feel free to interact. Let me know if you have questions along the way. And this is going to be relatively short, like a 15-minute training. So what I want you to do first off is look at any limiting beliefs that you have like related to niching. So whether that's like, I've tried it before, or like I did an ideal client avatar and it didn't work for me, or whether you feel like you have stories of like, oh, this is going to limit me, or if I niche down too much, I'm going to be locked into something and I'm not going to be able to change it. So if you have any kind of negative reaction related to this topic of niching, right? Of really like choosing a specialty and standing in it so that you can build momentum and be known as like the go-to person for that. If you have any inner stories or resistance, identify what those are, and really take a look at them, because I feel like, I mean, I've been in that category before, of feeling like, the ideal client avatars and things like that were just not helpful. But I have seen, both with myself and with my clients, that when you are willing to stand in a specialty, that it is a lot easier. And you will always have permission to evolve. You will continue with this niche or this specification until the universe corrects you, until the universe, God source universe, will bring you or pull you into a new direction if you're meant to change or evolve within the niche that you're creating. So just allow for some flow and some evolution in this process, and don't necessarily feel like you've got to get it right and you're just going to be stuck there the entire time. If you're watching this and if you have any stories or things that feel limiting or kind of contracting to your energy around niche, like, tell me. Like, I'd love to talk through those. I'd love to hear where you're at with it, or even if you've overcome a story like that and you felt like you maybe used to have resistance, and then hi Megan, or maybe you used to have resistance to it, but maybe you have a new relationship with your niche, then let me know about that as well, because I do want to have just open conversation with you. So my recommendation for everybody is to not look at niche so much as like what you do. Like, if you're a coach, or if you're a medium, or a hypnotist, to not feel like your niche has to be your specialty or your modality, because ultimately those are your tools. And if you're like the majority of clients that I work with, you have a lot of them, and you also have your gifts and your special abilities, and you're not going to be any single one of those. So I always like to really call that out and name that from the beginning, and really remind you that those are your tools, that those are a part of your toolkit. I use the explanation of like a plumber, for instance, and really reminding you that that person is going to have a variety of different tools that they use for different types of jobs, but that their expertise as the plumber, they're just going to use the tools that are necessary for the job. So it's going to be the same thing for you, that when you have a variety of different tools and modalities that you use, you're going to use your modalities and your gifts in different ways depending on what you're helping the client with. And it's going to give you the opportunity to continue to grow and expand and like deepen your gifts and add modalities as you're pulled into them, while still being specific. And specificity is important when it comes to actually like resonating with your audience, because especially with, I feel like, the rise of AI technology, and even if you just scroll through any, social media of your choice, you'll see that there's a lot of generic, kind of vanilla stuff out there that you'll just continue to scroll on past. But every once in a while, you come across something that stops you in your tracks, that you feel fully pulled into it, and you're like, oh my God, this sounds like me. Like, I feel like I'm being watched, because this is exactly my thought process. And it's those types of very specific ways that we speak to people, that it actually like stops like the outside noise and the clutter and all the things that are pulling for people's attention. And it hooks them into what you're saying. Because no matter what, because I know a lot of people have a lot of resistance with sales related stuff. Even when you're posting on social media or you're sending an email to your list, everything is sales, because you are also looking for somebody's time, somebody's attention, right? So you always want to make sure that you're speaking to people from your heart and about things that are specific enough that they know that you're speaking to them. Otherwise, it kind of just gets lost in the clutter of all the other general messages. So when it comes to choosing your niche, I called it joyful niching, because I am really, really big on really finding your lane and your specification within your business based on what really like brings you joy, what is really within your zone of genius, because that's when you're going to hit that sweet spot where things don't feel like work anymore, and it feels there's ease, there's excitement, and people can really feel your excitement when you're showing up and when you're talking about it. And when you have this, and especially because most of my people are neurodivergent, that when you have something that you're kind of just obsessed with, and for years you have just like been on your own journey with it, you have like gotten all these resources and done all your own healing related to it, you have like a never ending supply of things to talk about, that it's just really easy for you to resonate with people. So that's why I call it joyful niching, is that it's not going to be something that comes from the logical mind of like, oh, what makes sense for me based on where I've been or where people would take me seriously, because I definitely started there when I was a recruiter. That was the very first business that I had. Really starting in 2015, I'd say that was when my business was like primarily recruiting, and the first time that I like went out on my own, and as I was getting all my coach training, and my first coaching niche was really in career coaching, because at the time I was like, well, I mean, I haven't finished my training yet, and there's nothing wrong with it, right? But I obviously have different perspective now that this is where people will take me seriously. There's definitely was some advantages to it because I was able to like find what I was willing to move forward with. I was able to get kind of some quick traction and hop into a topic where I felt like I had confidence. Like I had confidence to talk about things, even though I was newer as a coach. So I do think there's some benefit to that, but I always really want you to like look for continuing to align with more of your joy. So for instance, like I became a coach because I was like talking to all these people that were, basically being interviewed or screened for my clients in the recruiting world, and I was noticing how they just like weren't happy. I didn't understand that I had psychic abilities at the time, but I could really pick up on a lot of things about them. And it started to feel really icky when I could feel like someone was just saying the right things, but they didn't really want to, like, they didn't really want that job, right? It was just like they felt like that was their only option. And so that for me like allowed me to continue to evolve and look at what was important to me, and I was fully obsessed in my life at that time with like life purpose, and I found a lot of like that was what got me really into coaching. That was what like really helped me to identify like a next step for me to move from coaching like into recruiting, and to see that there was like a path that had more fulfillment for me. And so I had then evolved, right? I became a life purpose career coach, and that was kind of like my next version of my niche. So I don't even know exactly why I started to tell you that story. Oh, I started to tell you that story because I know that sometimes the approach to niche is like logical niching of like what makes sense for me based on what you think other people want or what you think people will take seriously. But with joyful niching, it's much more about you, because people are going to really feel your energy. They're going to see it. They're going to be excited about what you're excited about, and you're going to fucking stick with it. Because if it's something that you really have, like, really think about you, right? Like, if you're not interested in it, how much do you typically follow through with those things? But when you have that natural excitement and obsession for something, you want to show up and talk about it because it's fun for you and it doesn't feel like work. Megan, I see your question or your comment here about the pressure is real. So tell me more about that if you're still on. But what I want to guide you to look at when it comes to your niche is I call it portals of transformation, and to look at the times in your life when you went through big moments of transformation. So it could be the loss of a job, it could be becoming a parent for the first time, it could be quitting your job and becoming an entrepreneur. It could be related to some kind of trauma and then some healing that happened afterwards that fully transformed your life. But really look at your own story. Everything that I really help people with is, looking at your story and not seeking it outwards and from a logical place, but looking at you. You are the expert in your story, and looking at when you had these big moments where you were just never the same, when you were not the same person. And the thing is when people's lives get interrupted or we have these big tower moments, that's when people start to seek help. That's when people open to like looking at different approaches or support that they've never thought of before. That's when people are really like receptive to like getting outside of their old paradigm, and when these new ways of being and doing and healing become something that they're open to trying. And so I really want you to think about what really got you on the path that you're on, and to remember that you simply talking about your story, like even if you don't want to niche right now, or you don't really want to like go through the process of quote unquote like figuring it out and choosing something, the very least that I would point you to do is to talk about your story, to talk about you, and talk about why you found the healing modalities that you found, because oftentimes you were probably a client where you learned them to use the healing modalities on yourself as a part of your own healing. And so start talking about that and talk about what changed in your life. Specifically, if you have clients, then you could start to pull in those resources and those examples. But I really want you to find the category and the people that you're helping based on the life transformation that is unfolding. That's the best way I could say it in a general way. I do have a few specific resources, and I'm happy to answer questions about this. I feel like it's a lot easier for me if we're going to talk about it in a general way. What I want to say is that I'm going to plan some lives where I can work with people and help them with their niche live, so that you can see some of the questions that I'm asking them, because I do feel like it feels a little bit kind of elusive and fluffy. I know when we're talking about it in this broad way, but if we pull in somebody that might be relatable to you and you can watch their process, my hope is that you're going to have some ahas and some moments of like, wow, that totally makes sense for me. So I'll share with you a couple resources that I have. The first is within the Business Universe workbook, and I'll link these after. There is a Refining Your Niche bonus section in the back of the workbook. And I want to say you can get this. I want to say it's $4.99. I'll link it. I have a digital download version in my Etsy store that's called Lead with Your Magic, but I'll find that link, or you can find the physical version on Amazon in paperback or hardback. But that's like the first version that starts at $4.99. I also have the Packaging Your Magic mini course, and that gives you some worksheets. It includes the digital version of the workbook, and it breaks down the steps of the process. It's probably, I'd say, an hour of like short videos, or 10 minutes or less. So you can go through it in a day, and chunk by chunk, I'll give you different things to do and help you to basically connect what you're doing to like the outcome that it provides in people's lives. Yeah, I think that that's a big one right now, Kayla, because I feel like there's a lot of people that are still feeling a little like displaced or lost. And I really feel like many of us, when I've done some collective readings, I've been doing them a lot on here over the last couple weeks, that I've been getting that many of us healers have been healing and helping other healers, which I think we've all been a part of this process of like kind of helping each other get ready, get ready for this mass awakening. But now, like, the feeling that I'm getting is that many of us are needing to be prepared and ready to, like, speak to the masses about what we're offering. And there's a different approach. They're much more based in, like, the 3D, and you have to realize that if people are in fight or flight and they're heavily inundated in fear, they are very concerned about, what is this gonna do for me right now? And I think that also we need to keep in mind that sometimes people come into sessions feeling like in fight or flight, and that sometimes we need to help settle them before we can get anywhere with them. So I will say that this is very much about helping you to prepare to talk about what you do and to open up to a wider audience. It's not about less clients with specification. It's about, my process is very much about grounding what you offer with a 3D outcome, because everything that we do as healers is really about, like, changing and alchemizing energy and then creating a different outcome in the 3D world, in our 3D environment. And when you start to see what ways you like to best work with energy and what outcomes the processes that you bring to your clients, what 3D, like, outcomes and changes and shifts they have in their life that are happening, and you can start talking about those more specifically, it's a lot easier for people, especially people that are in fight or flight, to understand what the benefits and the value are of what you're offering. So that's why I'm very much about, like, speaking about things specifically and with outcomes and benefits. I will say that, is there anything else I want to share here? I do have a short workshop that's about 90 minutes that's coming up tomorrow. So that's Wednesday, is it the 25th of January? It starts at 6 o'clock Pacific time or 8 o'clock Central time. And that is going to be about aligning with unique magic and zone of genius, which is it's very interrelated to niche. I feel like when I talk about to somebody about niche, specifically with joyful niching, we are looking at your zone of genius and your purpose and the things that you care about most, and then really creating a niche from those core pieces. So that's a really good first step. And if you've done parts of the workbook, if you've done the Package Your Magic course and you feel like you need some help and you'd like some interaction with me to help me refine it, that would be a really good place. And that workshop's only $33, so super affordable. Or this week, I also have the 5D niching and messaging package. So if you'd like to work together short term, one on one, I also am just, like, really good, like, at just tapping into the energy and being like, this is what they're telling me. And they're telling me that you have this modality because you're going to help people in this way. And it's, like, a really good way for me to tap in and bring the energy and the psychic information through, and for us to have a conversation with it and to really hammer it out together, for us to have interaction and to really come away with a plan and a way for you to, like, move forward with it and start getting it out there, because it is really time to, like, start bringing these things to bigger audiences. um yeah, so I think that we're doing that in February, Kayla. It's going to be Lucinda and I are going to be doing, like, I would call it, like, content creation events and things that are more experiential, and places where there'll be, like, different vignettes or backdrops, places where, like, if you need some, like, speaker photos, if you want a massage table and a client, or however you work with clients, we're going to have, like, different places that you can get those photos that you would use for your site, and then different backgrounds and backdrops for you to do it. So where that's going to be the first of those kinds of events. If anybody that is around the Southern California area as well is interested, I also can host people at my house. Like I could probably, because I know we've done ceremonies and things like that here. So I could comfortably host, 4 or 5 people. So if there are ever people or small groups that we want to get together in the Southern California area, I've also been thinking that I'd love to do some content creation events here, as well as I work with people in person that are creating courses. When I was in Nashville, I worked with my client on her book and helping her bring out all her anecdotes and her stories before her writers weekend. So there's a lot of possibilities here, but I have to jump off because I realized it's time for me to go pick up my son from school. But I will drop some links later today. If there's questions that you have or things that you need, let me know, and I'll see you soon. Bye.